We are red. Red is on. The time being 4:46, and by the power of Lord only knows what, I am the one who's running the meeting. The others will be late. I think we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome. On the agenda, we have approval of minutes. So I would bring the minutes of Thursday, October 18th to the floor for discussion.
On page 1 on the town administrator report, it's like the second sentence. He pointed out non-structural alterations are now a flat $50 fee, which applies to both residential and commercial. And I think he's talking about the non-structural alterations, maintenance, etc.
maintenance and repair.
So that's $50 on residential, but commercial is over, well, I changed it, 2,000 square feet was $250, and the other under was $100. Because if you read down below, we attempted to make a motion to change it and didn't. So that sentence is incorrect.
Which sentence?
The one about the flat.
Right under town administrator report.
Yeah.
It starts
The
out,
first
he
sentence.
pointed out non-structural, the second sentence. $50 in the right-hand column.
Yep. So how should it be?
Well, I've kind of written on mine, so I don't know what that says, but I know commercial was $250.
If you
You
look
got
at
it right here, you got your original.
that's where it's
Well, it should be under repair, alterations, maintenance, and repair, it's 250.
I think it was 1,000 and 1,000, because that's what it was on the previous one.
1,000 square feet.
Over 1,000 square feet was $250, and under 1,000 square feet was $100. Oh yeah, this one, yeah, that's what it was. This is exactly the same. I would just leave out $50 and say are now a flat fee. Because they're not by the square foot.
Okay, so we move the $50.
Just take out the $50, don't you think, Joe? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other changes?
It's the only one I have.
There's one on the.
Oh.
Wait a minute,
On the back page, where it said Jeannie updated the board
Yep.
notice, she is waiting on a second quote for repointing of town hall. Probably should say repointing the bricks.
Yeah.
Most people would know repointing pertains to the bricks. But if they didn't, they'd go, what are they talking
Okay. So it will read second quote for repointing the bricks.
about? At town hall.
Well, I would make a motion to accept the minutes of October 18th, 2018 as correct.
Second.
So any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, the ayes have it. There's nothing else on our agenda until 5 o'clock, which would be the town moderator in regard to the election. Actually, I'm making an assumption, it doesn't say elected there, but
So we've got 5 minutes.
Can we go over the public works,
report.
yeah. No, I guess we really can't, because I'll just bring it up on stuff. There's a couple of things that I didn't bring up. Okay, Louis has more to do with the state.
Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
Peachy, thank you very much. I am the vice chair tonight, and I know you're a few minutes early, but why don't you step right up and let's get this underway. We'll come back to this one, because I know there's lots of questions.
Yeah, well, it really is pertaining to the state building code, so that's why I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I made copies, which you did receive an email, but I brought hard copies in case.
I know some of us really like the hard copies.
I like stuff to write on.
So who is that? So, Mr. Mitchell, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, I'm here in two things. One is hopefully would be some available help in setting up on Monday. The high school says approximately 3:30. Because they have to go in and cover the floor before they'll let us in. Probably somewhere between at least 3 and 3:15 at the earliest. And so I don't know if we're going to get any help from the select board on doing that.
This is on Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
Public Works new,
I'm the vice chair.
have to set up on Monday.
I don't know why.
They're the ones who collect all that stuff and bring it, and they set up the booths. I'll be there.
And I'll be there for a while anyway. I have a 5:30 water commission meeting, but I'll have to go for that. I'm all yours.
I can get there about 4:30.
Well, to be honest with you, I think oftentimes we can probably get to just about most of it done within an hour. It depends upon the number of hands that we've got going.
I'll be there after work, so right around this time.
Okay.
Definitely.
If it's closer to 5 o'clock, we may be done by then, I don't know. Let's see.
Sometime we have Public Works there with all the stuff.
Well, in the past, they've gotten there earlier and had it all set, all in the lobby. And so,
But they set up the booths, so.
right, well, I would suggest that they need to be there, I'd say no later than 3:15. They say 3:30 to be out of there, but you never know, and I'd hate to have everybody sit around for 15 minutes if they finished up a little earlier.
They'll be unloading their trucks and whatever, so.
Yeah, but they make it over there during the day and unload everything for the lobby.
And then
And
come
then
over
they'll
and
just
set
come
up.
back and set up.
Yeah.
And nobody's located the chair yet, right?
To that end,
You know?
there is a new chair. Because the other chair has not been located. There are rumors that the chair may have been used by the drama department at the high school. At this point, in talking to Shelley over there at the primary, she said that no one had seen it, so. At this point, since it's not here, it's not there, I paid a visit to a furniture place, and I picked up another chair for $75. The first chair was one that I paid for anyway. And this time, I may very well donate the chair or put it on my expense voucher for the event. It was $75 for a new one,
That's not bad.
so it's not too bad.
It was a nice chair.
Well, this is a nice chair. It does have a pad.
Excellent.
So next Tuesday, election day. So, I have been sitting down and double checking all of the ordinances here and the policies and election laws. And I think you all have this document. And on the right-hand column on page at the bottom, it says 172. It does state that for the primaries and general elections, requires the attendance of selectmen. Doesn't make it voluntary, it requires it. Then it says if the selectman is unable to perform his or her duties for all or even just part of the day, then they are authorized to appoint a selectman pro tem to perform those duties. It's not a big deal, but in the primary, earlier in the day, we had virtually no one there. And when we were faced with some shortages, which prolonged some of the things at the end of the day, and the final count, because we had ballot clerks getting up and helping some of the veterans come, that came in from the veterans home with the wheelchairs and all that. So it's really kind of important that we get people there and that they're able to assist. So hopefully, each of you can find either if you can't be there, or find someone else who can.
I will be there 7:15.
Okay?
I plan to stay all day.
I'll be there after my last inspection, which should be about 10 or 10:30, and then I can be there all day and into the evening. There's no planning board scheduled for that night.
And then 5 till close.
I can be there from 10 until 1, and then from about 4:30 to close.
Now,
If we really need to push the RSA, I can go to my boss if we need to push it.
well, one of the things that will happen is that we will be getting our visit from the Attorney General's office. Someone will be coming up and checking. Jeannie did check with the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office said, although this requires all selectmen to be there, they said at least 3 need to be there. So, I mean, I don't want to be whatever, but if
If
they
it's a
come in,
requirement, certainly we should
if
do
they come in and we don't have at least 3 selectmen there, or 2 selectmen with the pro temps, whatever, or replacements, that very well could become an issue. So I will, right now, I'm not in a position of trying to pin people down, but beyond that, it is something that I think should be dealt with. And so long as we can get at least three select board or 2, whatever, and a selectman pro tem.
So can we ask one of the selectmen pro tem, does it need to be a prior selectman, or does it need to be just
Anybody.
a-
Just a
Anyone,
resident.
so long as they're a resident of Tilton.
Can it be a ballot clerk?
Well, we shouldn't pick somebody who's already got duties to
They're
perform.
already, ballot clerks are already
I'm just trying to think of
election officials.
how do we get somebody for the entire day and maybe
How about
2?
so it
Well, if
needs-
some people, however, are going to be here only part of the day, so long as you could get someone to cover part of the morning. As an example, Catherine says she's got 3 inspections that morning, I can understand that, okay? If she can find someone that would be able to be there from, let's say, 8 to 10. And I say 8 to 10 because, we don't, if it's going to be somebody pro tem, as far as the setup goes, we're going to have that done, so maybe you should be there from 8 to 10. And if you were going to be there, Catherine could find someone that would come in for at least 2 hours, that would probably help on that end. And I know that that's working. I don't know, but Peter was the beginning of this one. The law requires select to be at the voting place. And if you can't be there, then even says for even part of the day, then you need to appoint pro tem. And then on the back of the page at the bottom, it actually says if the selectman pro tem, the selectman can't find one, then it's left up to the moderator to appoint one.
So what about like, someone like Sandy Plessner, who's available during the day?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that would be great.
So the selectman that can't be there is the one that's authorized to appoint
Yeah.
the selectman?
Yeah.
Or the moderator can in that
In
selectman's
the
place?
lieu of the selectman not doing it, the moderator can.
So does the RSA say if you have a board of 5, you need 5 selectmen there the whole time?
Yes. I,
They give them
Or pro tem.
Mhm.
If you, Jeannie contacted the Attorney General's office, and she'll tell you what she found out.
so I contacted the AG's office, the elections division, and what he said, the RSA requires all 5 selectmen to be there the whole day. They understand that that's not practical, so that they won't, as he said, they wouldn't be paying us for it. However, there should be a majority there the entire day. And so if you can't be there, if you elect somebody as your designee, that's acceptable as long as it's a resident of Tilton. What I can do, if it'd be helpful, is just put together a schedule and see where we have the gaps and then let you know. You know, put that together, let you know, and see if you can find someone, and if you can't, then it falls to the moderator to fill those holes.
We should create a pool of people that would be willing and able to pro tem. Sandy would be,
Seems like she'd be at the top of that list. Up in that neighborhood, she has experience with elections.
Some of the details during the day, and I know that Catherine realizes this, like we have to have somebody by a table where there's a camera, but that person doesn't have to be very busy all day necessarily. And so if we were to have the number of warm bodies there, we would be prepared at least when the veterans come down, and it requires sometimes 2 or 3 people. This year on the schedule, Joe, I know you've done greeting in the past. I have that covered on my end now.
Okay.
So there are some other places and things. And so, it doesn't have to be someone who's necessarily a skilled or former select person to be able to assist with veterans,
No.
or to be able to go in and assist someone in the handicap voting. So,
Is the greeter going to keep the lines going or bog them down?
well, that depends. It's always an issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
Last time they kept them moving.
Well, we
No,
had
they
to.
didn't.
No, they didn't.
In the afternoon, Pat did a little chatty with some people, but I can deal with that.
Yeah.
That's my,
Not me. Don't look at me, Gene, please. There's another Pat that's very chatty.
I am going to exercise.
Lives
Because
near,
I
Chuck.
because I cannot handle a touch ballots for the most part, as I'm a candidate. There will be, Helen is going to be the prime assistant moderator, and Deb Shepherd is going to be another assistant moderator. So when it comes time to doing both the voting ballot box and the checking of absentee ballots and all that, it's going to be covered between those two. And then Deb is also going to be sworn in as a ballot clerk, so she can give breaks to some of the ballot clerks. So I guess I don't feel like I need to sit here now until you pick pro tems or whatever, or contact them. But, I don't know, is Kim, for example, she's gonna be there as I understand it. Maybe she could be sworn in as a pro tem, I don't know. I just bring that up because if she's gonna be there, and that won't necessarily have a lot of responsibilities there during the day probably. So that's somebody else you might think of. I could come up with other names, but I won't. Anything else? I think I've got everything pretty well set for running the election on that day. We've got the ballot clerks all lined up. We're going to actually, instead of my bringing in a lot of food for lunch, we're doing a potluck. And we're actually, I will copy and send out a list of what people are bringing already, and if anybody else has something they want to contribute, that would be fine. This time, I'm not gonna be putting the squeeze on Roma Joe's for complimentary coffee, but we are gonna pick up coffee in the morning with some muffins and Danish. I'm gonna avoid the sweet rolls and the sugar donuts. And I asked when Gail called, I asked to have an invoice ready, which I'll submit later, rather than having to feel it like they have to furnish it for nothing. Joe, when you get there in the morning, would you be willing to help me get that handicap voting thing set up?
Whatever you need. I helped the last time, and we got it. It came together, as I recall.
Oh, it does. We have a new machine, I mean, they reprogrammed the tablet this time, so if someone were to sit down, well, that's for you.
I know, but Catherine's always done this, and I just thought she might like to look at the new procedure.
Well,
I'm sure the
it's
procedure's
basically the
same.
similar thing. When you plug in all the equipment, it has to be done in a proper sequence. If you don't do it in a proper
Yep.
sequence,
It
it won't
doesn't
work.
work.
But the other nice thing is that they now have a program so that when somebody does the voting, it actually will print on an official ballot.
Oh, nice.
Is the
Yes.
voice better?
The voice is better, you can understand it. If you choose to use the keyboard, you always have to use the right arrow and the enter key, and you have to have the headphones on, and every time you hit the right arrow key, it goes from this space to this space to this space, so you have to go down through everything very, very, very slowly. But it does work, and what it does takes an official ballot, and will actually print out and darken the spaces for those particular things. In the past, we had to actually take a plain sheet of paper and run it through, and it would print out a ballot, but it couldn't go through the voting machine or the ballot counting machine. Now it can,
Nice.
so that's good.
Nice change.
And again, we have no idea whether it'll be used or not, but I think it should be
It's
set.
there. Excellent.
Anything else for me? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your
Thank you,
service.
Chuck.
Well, FYI, we are working on Hunting Trail Committee.
Yes, I was asked if I would serve on that, and I have accepted the opportunity to have my name submitted for approval, however that.
Well, thank you very much for your willingness to serve. True.
One more question I have on the, how was the, this first impressions thing going? Input from you guys?
Well, I'm the liaison ex officio. Seems to be a lot of enthusiasm. We were going to start out by like having a river cleanup, but literally after the meeting, the river went down. So trying to get it put together just wasn't possible. But there's a lot of plans, things that we have a UNH cooperative extension helper that's assigned to us for the next year to help us out. We have the town administrator who is a wealth of information who is helping us out. And I am more optimistic than I have been at any time in the last 8 years that I've been working on this project. There's a lot of enthusiasm by the Tilton School and by residents, by school children, and by the town of Northfield. And it seems like we have a chance.
Good.
That's all I can tell you right now. But I expect to see things happening quickly as the snow starts to go away. Between the 11th and that whole entire week or 2-week period, they'll be doing chalk art on the sidewalks downtown in washable chalk. And I'm anxious to see how that endeavor goes. We'll see.
And we're gonna, as far as the town goes downtown, we're gonna have to see what happens toward the spring on getting that tank down by,
The interceptor?
yeah, that tank painted.
We have volunteers, but it's too late in the season. That seems to be the general consensus to actually undertake the project now, but first thing in the spring, Tilton School wants to go. The school district up here is very anxious to be of help. The library across the way, they have children's programs and they were volunteering. The Pines is interested. We have a lot of people that are willing to help. I hope it's going to be a matter of sorting through to come up with our best ideas. But it'll be painted.
Conservation Commission is in the process of putting together an RFP for clearing some of the brush that is along the river within Salmon Run. And once that gets put together, we will bring it to you and we will get the RFP out so we can get some of that brush cut.
We could use the road crew from the state prison.
However, that sorts itself out. You know, as you know, the Public Works got in there in May or early June and mowed. And by early September, late September, mid-September, when Paul went in and mowed, the locusts that were on just on the police station side of where the culvert goes through, had locusts that were already this high, a whole slew of them in an area you hadn't noticed carefully. And so Paul had to go in and not only cut those out, because you couldn't mow those, and treated the stems.
Wow.
But I mean, that is the level of growth. And so when like you, Catherine, and John, and the Conservation Commission went in there a couple of years ago and cleared off all of that brush along the river, it has not only grown back, it has grown back with vigor. It is bigger now. I walked through there in the fall, I mean, in the summer with Paul because of whatever. And he, I mean, there's that floribunda or multiflora rose in there, which is unbelievable, 10, 12 feet high. So we're trying to, you know, it would be nice to keep that down, but if there isn't some kind of treatment done, it's just going to turn around and it's going to be an annual maintenance cost. That's what happens when you want to have the river visible.
Well, that's what this thing we were going to do when the river came down. If we could get access to it easier. This is prime time for doing stuff alongside the river.
Yeah, especially that stretch between Cumbie and all the way up along in there on that side of the road, the riverside. The state went in there with hand loppers and improved a lot of that, but it's they only got what they could reach. Beyond that, the rest of it's there. And if that doesn't get dealt with, those are going to be within the 4-inch limit, and you won't be able to cut them. So that's got to be dealt with too. And I know, John, you offered.
Well, I'm your man, John.
The pole saw. Like what you almost need is one of those gas-powered chainsaws with a small pole.
Work with the state to have them restore that whole guardrail
Yeah.
and do that whole project, pointed out with the fact that since they've been cut back so many times, there's stumps that come out and they're just getting bigger and pushing the rocks out. So it's they've been alerted now, and Senator Guy has been sending some letters out.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. See you on Tuesday morning.
Bye, Kathy.
Monday afternoon.
Bye, Jim.
Okay, so we're right on schedule here, and we'll invite Tim up, Finance and IT Director report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I just have a few brief items to go over before we take a look at the budget. First item is a request to borrow $800,000 from our TAN. That's in your to be signed folder, and that should bridge us through to the receipts coming in from the tax bills that are going to be done later this month. Also, this is the time of year when we renew our Celebrate license for the data extraction software and services from Celebrate at the PD. We need to issue a purchase order for $3,700. We have an offsetting donation for $3,500, and the remaining $200 to be charged to the police department's equipment purchase line. And I would ask that there be a motion so that I could sign that and submit it to them. And this is for our renewal.
So moved.
Second.
You want me to read it for the public?
Yes, please.
I move we authorize the finance director issue and sign a purchase order to Cellbrite Corporation for the purpose of renewing our license for the cell phone data extraction software and service. The amount of the license is $3,700, is being offset in part by a $3,500 donation from 3M Corporation.
And that was seconded by Selectman Scanlon. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? So moved.
Great, thank you. And also, I did send out an email to the board, but I just wanted to put it in my report as well that the closing was completed. We received the wire funds of $85,000 from Sealight last Friday, as was expected. And then lastly, the surveillance system for Town Hall, the installation will start this next week. And the timing should be good because on Tuesday, when the town clerk and deputy town clerk tax collector are at the election, we'll be able to work in their area and get the camera set up in there too. So other than that, I have for you a draft budget. Now, this is a draft. It is a first look for the board. And this, I'll go through the format, some highlights, and then we can go through some of the bigger changes. But then when the department heads come in to see you, most of them have a narrative document that explains the material line, the material line changes, those large either increases or decreases as you go through their budget. So on the first page, as you're used to seeing, is the summary of what we're looking at. Not only the 19 budget, but also the 18 budget and where we are unaudited as of yesterday. So on the far left-hand side, the first two columns reflect 2018. And while we're underspent year-to-date, I just caution you that things get out of whack in terms of timing during the year. Our payments don't flow as the months do. So. But in any case, you can see down at the bottom, the very first column where it says budget at the bottom, it shows current year appropriation $5,773,101, which relates back to our DRA figures of our appropriation. In the warrant articles section, you'll notice there's no amount of money next to town hall carpeting because that was an individual warrant article, and as such, once it's approved at town meeting, it's added to the operating budget. So it actually is contained within the administrative budget up top. But those are appropriations. You see where our expenses are year to date. And then we move to the new format of the Selectmen's base budget and the department request budget. So I was requested to format this in a way that takes our 2018 lines that are non-personnel related and copy them forward from 2018 to 2019, less any one-time expenses. We'll go through those, and there are a few. But it includes our personnel and personnel-related costs as they exist now for 2019 and what we know is happening in 2019. For instance, the contract increases, things of that sort. The other aspect, the other changes that aren't exactly the 2018 base budget are the insurances that we now have from Primex and Health Trust. And also our contracted increases for solid waste collection, both solid waste and recycling collection. So some of our contracts are based on the prescribed schedule that was in the contract. So in any event, if you look at the Selectmen's base 2019 budget. So as I've just explained what's included in it and what's not, you can see that it is a $29,885 reduction from year to year. Part of that is the absence of the carpeting, and part of that is due to health insurance plan changes and personnel changes in Town Hall. And then you can see as it goes through the different budgets where those changes are. If you look at the departmental request, that actually is showing a $77,000 increase, and we'll go through those. But the net effect of both of those, if you look at what the departments are requesting versus the 2018 base budget, it's an increase of $107,000 or 1.92%. So, if you turn to the next page, what you have here is a breakdown of the town budget. This doesn't include the sewer commission, but the breakdown of the town budget by department in terms of large component items, wages, benefit, taxes. And if you're to add up the percentage of our personnel and personnel related costs, they're just under 64% of the town budget. You can see sanitation and sanitation related is our single largest expense outside of personnel. And there's notes down below what's incorporated in each of those component categories as you go through and take a look at this. And of course, I'm always available to answer any questions. If you'd like to move forward, I do include a per capita cost there too on the end. The 3,545 was our last census information from 2016. But if you take a look on page 1 now of the detailed budget in administration, so this budget was put together primarily originally by Joyce and myself, and then I've reviewed it with Jeannie to go over all the components. But this is largely, I would say, probably 70 to 80% based upon what we knew going in for next year. And so the larger items here, this is the department where there's a reduction, a significant reduction. The blue shaded items reflect those things that are coming from the wages, so taxes, wage information that was supplied, say, from the moderator or the supervisors of the checklist, and those pertain then to taxes, and in some cases, depending upon salary information, that goes to retirement, health insurance. So all the blue shaded are things that are the personnel and personnel related. The other lines are the lines that show the difference from your base budget. And in most cases where you see the selectmen base column, which is the first shaded column just to the right of the center of the page, next to that you'll see the base 19 versus 18, and outside of the personnel and personnel related costs, there should not be any increases there, with the exception of those contracted items or insurances. So if you were to look at page 2, you'd see towards the bottom of the administrative budget that there is an 8% increase in our workers' comp insurance. There's a 3.4% decrease in our property liability. Unemployment was the same. And there's a slight change to the Lakes Region Mutual Fire Aid for 19. Those are all 19 numbers provided by those entities. In addition...
If that's the case, then why did we increase general legal expense? Is that because it's going to be a assessing year?
So that's because not only that, but just the pipeline of things, the pipeline of issues that are out there for legal. Yes, the answer to your question is yes.
Okay.
So, and as it relates to that, let me turn your attention to the reappraisal of property, which is on page 1, and it's about the 8th up. It ends in code 900 on the far left. 7th up. and you'll note that we're going down in the budget from year to year, and that's because our reval cost is just under $72,000, and we will have more than enough money in our capital reserve fund to pay for the full year reval. So all we're budgeting for here is the data verification, which is $18,509, and then a little extra money in case we have to have them appear in court, which we usually charge that to this line as opposed to the legal line. When we have to hire an attorney for that, we charge that to the legal line.
Why do we have, like, planning board, 28.6%?
So that's because in the past, some of the boards and commissions have paid alternates, and we haven't budgeted for those. So where they have paid alternates, I've included the alternates in the budget this year. One other item on the first page, which is new this year in the request, and you may recall last year we were switching from a paper-based CAD firm that was down south that did our mapping for us, and it was very infrequent. We moved to Avatar with that, but this now reflects a desire to go to full GIS with Avatar. So they'll take all of our mapping and they'll do all the conversion and put everything into GIS files for us, and then that's what will be updated from here on out at a nominal cost. There's a 2-year commitment to the cost. It's about $8,000 in total, and then but I've got them to split it over 2 years, and then that also includes the money you see here. Also includes the updates and money for printing the maps once they're done. Not through Avatar. We print them through Staples.
So it's a one-time cost? There's not a yearly fee for maintenance or anything?
After the fact, there's about a $1,500 yearly fee for updates. Now we could arrange with them to do time materials, or we could have someone else do it. Once we have the GIS files, then it's a matter of just contracting someone to do the work. Would not have to be them.
Could be, say, for instance, a land use person.
That's correct. So those are the highlights of the administrative budget. In the town clerk tax collector budget, the town clerk tax collector has put in a request of 3% increase, which is what she's required to do since she doesn't. She's not eligible for a merit increase.
Or she's not required.
She's required.
Well,
She's not required to put it in her
No.
budget. It could be a warrant article.
It
Right,
could be, yes.
exactly, and she's not required to put in 3%.
No,
Right, we can
Yeah.
reduce
No,
that
that's up to her.
3% and then it could be
I
changed on the floor.
Keep it the way it is.
misspoke. She requested 3%.
What are we putting in our merit raise to?
It's 2.5% is what we've had, and that's what's in there currently. Of course, that can be changed. The other item here is that their office expenses have been higher, as well as we're seeing quite a bit of increase in the company that programs the election machines, which has pretty much a monopoly lock on the state, and they just increased their prices quite a bit.
7%?
It was a lot. No, the election preparation that you see there, that is reflecting a decrease of $2,000
right.
because there's only one election in 2019.
Anticipating the day. So, line 130, 40-130,
Yes.
this is already in anticipation?
That's what
No.
was given in July.
No, in fact,
It says
glad-
request, 2019 request, in that column, and it's blue.
no, what you see, so one thing that I have not done with the board yet that I typically have done at this time of year has been to do the budget transfers for the merits.
Mhm.
So once those merit transfers are done, you won't see those types of changes. You'll see all the salary lines will
So
look
ignore the 2019 request on salaries.
On salaries.
Thank
correct.
you.
Yep. And once that budget transfer is done, then those will be, those won't show any
That's
difference.
all I needed to hear.
But what's there now is reflecting the raises that were given.
That's correct.
for-
But keep in mind, that's a half
Right,
year.
half a year.
So we covered the reduction in the election preparation in finance. The big issue here is the tax anticipation note. I'm anticipating that we are going to, and it looks like there is a mathematical error there, but there is going to be higher cost with the tax anticipation note for this next year. Rates are on the rise, and our borrowing has been higher and more frequent than we have had in the past. And part of that's a result of the fact that our fund balance is, on the low side. We're below 5% for GFOA, Government Finance Officers Association. So I will double verify those numbers in finance, but that looks like it needs to be corrected there. The selectmen's base on that. In the debt, those figures are based on the 2019 schedule from the amortization schedule. So it is a slight reduction in the total debt for that year. In information technology, so this is an area of increase, and when I go through the IT budget with you in detail, it basically is attempting to link the police department and town hall via fiber, migrate us off of our old phone system here onto the same phone system as with the PD once we're on fiber. It'll reduce our copper phone line costs here. We'll be using voice over IP lines with the exception of the emergency failover. And in the so that saves us a little bit of money. It costs more here. It saves a little bit there. I'll have the breakdown for you. But in software, I've budgeted not only for the iWork system that we're using for permitting, because we had done that through an encumbrance in 2017 into 2018. So we didn't actually have it in the budget in 2018. So now it appears in the 2019 budget, as well as budgeting for a work order system for Public Works.
Why do we want a work order system? Did we request that?
Well,
I mean, we don't have to go into great detail now. I'm just curious where that came from.
Well, it's something that we've looked at for some time. And what's that? I have since Dennis.
I know I've requested it.
Since Dennis, and most of the directors were not very receptive to the idea for one reason or another. And I've reviewed with Kevin one system. We're going to take another look at another system next week. And then I've also developed a very rudimentary system that we could use in-house that does maybe about 70% of the basics. And but the idea here is to really make use of technology. And Catherine, here's a good reason why.
Technology is expensive.
Well, it is. But if you look at, say, take your town clerk tax collector. So her software costs about $1.20 per hour during the year. So for every hour that she works, for the 2,080 hours she works during the year, it's about $1.20 and change cost per hour for that software, which gives a method of handling all the transactions within that office for both the town clerk, tax collector, as well as the deputy. And it ensures a control process with permissions, reports, and auditing capability. And while the financial considerations of Public Works are different, if you think about the amount of time it takes for Public Works staff if they go someplace and there's another thing that needs to be done, but the tools are back at the shop and they go here and then they've got to go back and get that, the efficiencies aren't seen. In other words, you're not seeing the internal cost of not having a system. But when you have a system that helps you organize, prepare, and execute, then you're much more likely to take much fuller advantage and utilize your hours available to your service personnel at a much higher utilization rate, because they're not spending the time running around trying to find what they need, or going back and forth between two different locations because it wasn't well planned out. And not that this is the be-all, end-all, but what it helps to do is to provide that same kind of framework I talked about in tax collection applied to public works, so that the big thing is, if you think about the 64% of our budget cost is personnel, not having some type of method of making them the highest utilized, in other words, the most productive they can be for that time that they spend, doing their work, there's a real cost to that we don't see, that we bear today, but we're not seeing it. So $2,800, you're talking maybe, again.
Times what?
No.
How many of the systems do we have? Everybody uses a different system. We have iWorks, we're having something else over here. The police use something different. I think sewer uses something different. We're all using something different. And we pay for each one of these.
That's correct.
When they're all just gathering information.
That's correct.
Actually,
Well,
we're
So-
getting information.
Why wouldn't we, what drives me insane is, why can't we find one that we all use? I mean, we have one department that has a hold of one that will never let it go.
and
And
that's
it does the same, they do the same.
so that's part of
that's
it.
my
That's part of the
problem.
challenge. I will be happy to
It's
answer
the
that
same.
question when we go through the IT budget in
Thank you.
detail. I will be well prepared for you, and I do have an answer for you.
right,
It's just a long
Good.
long answer, probably longer than you'd
When
like
we get
here.
there also, can we find out how the iWork system is working?
Absolutely, and I
I don't
have.
think it has been expanded as we expected it to be.
It does seem to be on track. I have asked Dari to.
Hasn't been expanded.
To health. No.
Well, and we also thought,
Welfare.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That's correct. But I have asked the town planner to be prepared to discuss that, and
thank you.
So speaking of land use, moving right along, the primary change here is that there's a request, and I'll leave it for the planner to go through with you, but there's a request for additional hours, not necessarily by the same employee, but possibly, possibly a college student or other, and doing things that are in support of the planning board and planning board activities, and things that would allow the planner to spend more time on planning activities in support of, all the land use activity in town. So I'll just leave it at that. But it's about a little over $5,000 difference. If we move on to health and welfare, the health officer has doubled her administrative expense line for the purposes of testing. So,
What, my patients?
yeah. No, so it's got, there's a slight increase there, and then there's a decrease in the general assistance line. And I had, I'm still talking to the welfare director about this. If you look at our expenses year-to-date through the end of October, you can see right in the center of the page, just above the page number 3, you'll see $8,234. That's what we've spent year-to-date.
But most of the expenses come up in November, December.
There are a lot of expenses in November, December, but I think that 25, we may even be able to lower that sum to maybe to 22. But that's something that, and she's willing to do that. She just wants to see how the rest of the year starting to look, and she'll know based upon her pipeline. As we move on to page 4, so I've highlighted in red for you an area that, as you can see in the notes, there's a determination that needs to be made that will have an impact on this budget, as well as the fact that you have a new Public Works Director, and he and I have spent a lot of time going through each line, looking at all the expenses, the detailed expenditures for each of these accounts. And he's made a number of changes, and he has a really nice narrative document for you that when you go through the Public Works Department, you'll see that the bigger items here are adding the part-time wages for summer and winter help. And if you go down towards the highway uniforms, there's a desire to go back to a uniform company that provides a certain type of uniform that has all the safety reflection stuff already in the uniform. And you can see that we're anticipating a higher fuel prices, as well as because of the increased fleet and increased use of equipment, looking at higher costs there. In addition, there's the plan is to add 1 radio per year, so we've done that now. Last year was the first year, so each year he'll add another radio, the new radios to the trucks. In the top of page 5, so this is where it's get a little dicier. We have street lighting. Our contract through Lakes Region Planning Commission is a higher rate than what we were paying before. It is lower than what the market is right now, I can say that. And our usage seems to be up in a number of areas. Town hall usage is up quite a bit. Some other departments as well. I'm not exactly sure why, but I've increased the street lighting budget. And I know each year there's a discussion about looking at the lights, the poles, seeing which ones we need, we don't need. We can always adjust this down, but that's the number I started with.
How does that increase? Because we're not increasing the number of streetlights. Are they increasing their fees?
Well, the
rate-
cost, the rate
of the
is higher.
electricity.
The
Yes.
rate's higher.
The rate is higher,
So it is
quite a bit
the
higher.
rate. So
Primarily the rate, but in the buildings, I've seen an increase in usage. So the
But
town
the-
hall, we had some of our highest electric bills.
that's a separate electric.
That's not
Right.
street lighting.
No, that's
Okay,
correct.
That's where I was
That's correct.
confused. We started putting that into a.
And some of these things you can explain. I mean, we had, maybe 4 air conditioners going up here at one point for, quite a period of time, which was certainly warranted. You couldn't work up here without them. But we saw a lot of electric usage. So I'm being a little more conservative with budgeting electricity this year. The sanitation portion, so we have, it's when we go through the detail of this, I'll have the tonnage information for you, as well as the contract information. But the contract basically has a 2% increase to it. And keep in mind that we added the certain parks to this. And there's some question in my mind if there are going to be additions yet again to our collection routes that I prefer not to bring up on camera, but there are a couple of developments that I've got to do some more digging on that we're not currently picking up, that I don't know if we're going to have to allow for that or not, but what you see here is reflective of what we've been doing this year. We also put in money for additional bins. We have to buy bins for Highland, what's it called, Highland Ridge?
School Street?
Highland Ridge on School Street. And plus, we have to allow for a certain number of bins each year, that are damaged, people move, that sort of thing. So we typically have about 30 that we budget per year, just in general, and then we're adding those for.
I have a
You should have a
general,
rule that they pay for them,
I have a general
so
question.
they won't get damaged.
I've seen some people that have like 3 bins out in front of their house. Either the black ones or the green ones, or both, at a single residence.
Yes.
Do we have anything in place to, like, send out a public works guy after the garbage truck and pick up everything but the one that they're supposed to have? How does that work? I'm not sure. I was going right after that whole thing started, and
Some houses ended up with 2 bins in the old program, and we did not feel that we wanted to go around and say, you can only have 1, give it back.
well, that was kind of the intent at the time, that unless they went down and explained that they needed 2 bins or 3 bins.
And that's what they did, and that's how they got them,
Okay,
in the old program.
okay.
I mean, quite frankly, I'd rather they have 3 bins, black bins of garbage than 3 bins of recycle, because it's cheaper to get rid of the garbage than the recycle.
No, it isn't.
Well,
Yeah.
right now, we're capped at $50 a ton on the recycling, as long as it's clean recycling.
Yeah.
Was there
90%.
some kind of provision that was made if people needed additional stuff that they had to purchase the bins themselves?
That's correct.
So there might be
They
some of that.
they can purchase them from Pinard, that's right. And they can make arrangements with Pinard for additional garbage bins and that's supposed to be set. Yeah.
So that may be what you're seeing
Yeah.
as well.
Uh-huh.
I personally don't think so, because I brought up this very issue a few times this last year. Because as I drive around, it's very clear. And there's got a list of properties, as a matter of fact.
They have serial numbers on them. So you have to just came and took pictures of the serial numbers. It's a list somewhere where those serial numbers are supposed to be, which is an opening a can of worms. And how do we enforce it? And is that a code enforcement thing? Or, I mean,
That's why we didn't do it.
yeah, it's a horror show.
If they had them in the old program, it was a grandfathered thing, but going forward, they needed to purchase them. We weren't going to purchase them for them. I mean, they're still going to throw away the same tonnage. It was just a matter of, do we provide them with extra bins, or do they have to buy them?
So, moving along in the police department, the biggest change to the police department is in terms of their request is for an 8th patrol officer. And this patrol officer is budgeted based upon a May start date. So you're not looking at a full year cost, you're looking at a 2019 cost of that officer. Does that make sense?
Well, that part, the way you explain it, makes sense. Adding another police officer unless, I mean, well, that's a question I need to ask the chief when the time comes. It's
Right.
not you.
Right.
Okay, you're just the bearer of the message.
I believe we had promises when we went to the new dispatch about extra.
Well, we'll bring that up again. Save that on
I'm sure
your
we'll
notes,
have a good
guys.
discussion.
Yes, we
Oh, I'm
will.
sure we will.
So I do see a few minor percentage errors in there, so I'll be correcting those and sending those out. In addition to the 8th officer, the other item here is in their equipment purchases. They do have equipment they want to get for their evidence room, as well as they're trying to replace at least one radar per year. The radar are quite old, going on 20 years, some of them, and they're going through a replacement
Not the
process.
handheld ones.
No, not the handheld. No, these are the car
It
radar.
would be nice just to see how many citations or stops they pull with them, because all we get is call for service with no detail.
Well, and we have been able to purchase most of that radar with 50% grant match. So I would expect that would be the case moving forward as well. In Culture and Recreation, there's a new item here for the Tilton 150th celebration, which is right above the Memorial Day expense line. So that is a placeholder that,
I would hope that that's only gonna be a placeholder, because I'm not sure that you're gonna get things done with that amount of money.
well, and that's the discussion. So it's just here for now. That will likely change.
For the 100th anniversary, I was looking through the minutes, and they, for the 100th
Yeah.
anniversary, they actually spent more than that.
Yeah,
And that was.
In those
And
dollars.
that was in.
Right. right,
That was 50 years ago,
yeah.
so
How much did they actually spend?
I think it was like 6,000 or something dollars they appropriated. I was looking through the minutes back in 19, was it 16?
Well-
Yeah, 69.
69.
Judging from the committee members, it could possibly be done. You never know.
Outside of that, the outside agencies, there's just one small change there from year to year. And there is a new request, which I don't have yet, but as soon as I receive it,
What's
I will
the
make sure
change?
it's the new beginnings. And once I have the new agency request, I will add it in there for you. So
Are
that-
these actually, these all 2019 requests? You have some in bold and some not. Are these just taken from last year, or
No,
are these
these-
actual 2019 requests?
these are the requests,
Okay.
but there's one that.
It's my understanding that the fines was not gonna be level funded this year. It was going up. Is this the actual, what they requested?
I'll verify that.
Okay.
I thought that was, but
Doesn't the budget committee send out a notice and they have a deadline and I
They
think
do.
it'll pass? Isn't it in
I think it was
October?
October, yeah.
yep.
I remember from last year.
Well, I got my budget book right here.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on.
So,
Here's my own question here. Hold on. This nifty screen budget here. Pines, recreation, 15.
So other than that, that is the draft version. First thing I wanted to do was make sure that the, yeah, I don't
Requested
have,
appropriation from the town of Tilton, 67,250.
okay, I don't have that.
For who?
I'll have to get that.
Am I reading this right?
No, I'm sure you are. I don't have any of those as yet. Okay. I must have been looking at something that was wrong.
Penny didn't do
No.
I'm not on the board anymore. I don't know.
That,
So
but
I'll-
I knew that they were going up.
I'll verify the outside agencies then.
That should be finalized because the deadline's already been cut off,
Should be.
so.
And then there is one that is not present there that I will get my hands on and add. But in general, I wanted to check with you, the base idea of the base budget, is this what you had in mind? And is helpful to you?
very helpful.
Okay, all right. And then I would encourage resolving some of these, that item on page 4. That's also going to help with the budget, once that's determined. Outside of that, I did put in on the very front page on the cover our annual increases, for warrant articles, and as yet, I'm not aware of any others that I'm sure there may be, moneyed warrant articles.
Tim,
Yes.
there's one in the budget book that's not in here.
Right, that's what I was saying, that there's one I know that came in, but I don't have yet.
The Red Cross? Is that the one you're talking about?
I don't know the name of it. I have to find out from Joanna.
So we'll get those next week.
Yep, so I'll have that for you and I'll have that updated. But, so this is the start, this is the beginning document. And as you know, the first few iterations of it, it'll smooth out pretty quickly here. So, if there are no other questions for me.
Thank you very much.
Before you leave,
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago, we did ask a question about overtime at the Tanger Outlet for a 5K run.
Yes,
Did you find out the answer to that
I did.
versus a detail?
I did. There was no detail because the road was closed for the run. And when the road was closed, the chief said that he does not charge a detail for that. That in the past they've done other such, covered other such charitable items like that with overtime.
So, when a business does a charitable fundraiser, we close the road and the town pays overtime to manage that road closure
That is essentially what
as
the
a
chief...
charitable.
That's
So-
what the chief had communicated to me.
Tanger Outlet Mall has their own security force, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why don't they use their own security force? And I guess these are questions for the chief.
Right.
Mhm. You can't shut the road, of course.
Right.
No, it's the chief that makes the decision to close the road, but it's on the onus of the town of Tilton to pay overtime hours to manage that. The accountability is on us to manage that closure of the road
Well, he did...
in overtime.
He cited a number of other events during the year where the same thing occurs. So
Yeah, Special Olympics torch run.
Road closure.
not all of them are road closures, but
It's overtime run.
I think we'll have to schedule a whole evening for our chief. Budget's evening.
all right. Thank you. And
Thank you, Tom.
I'll send you out a revised budget as soon as I have those outside agencies corrected and the other mathematical issue taken care of. Okay.
Do you get a copy of these when they're submitted? Because it says Tim on them. Like that one from, it's addressed to you.
No, I don't have one,
You don't.
but I will.
Dear Tim Pearson.
Must be your evil twin.
Must be.
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Look at that. We are successfully scheduled. 15 seconds early. Great. So we have town administrator report.
Yes, okay. Per your request, I have,
You need to speak into that one.
per your request, I have provided a written report to the selectmen, so you can,
I have to find mine now. Hold on. Got it.
okay. So from last week, what I'm going to do is kind of follow up on the things that happened last week. The Trail Advisory Committee is tentatively set. I've talked to just about everyone. The one person I haven't been able to connect with is Ken Norton. I've called him a couple times and hoping to hear back from him. But Alyssa, and I'm not sure Alyssa's last name, which is why you see the question mark, but it's Ken's daughter. She did come in to pick up the paperwork to be on the committee. And as you heard earlier, Chuck Mitchell has agreed to serve on the committee as well. So I think next steps will be to try to schedule a first meeting with this group, get them to fill out their paperwork so that you can sign off on them and then get them moving. The rink liner has been ordered. I think Kevin's doing a great job. The lights on the island, he did go out and check those. He said he will check those periodically as the light is changing. I did reach out to Deb Shackett, who is the administrator over at Belknap County, to invite the commissioners to a select board meeting. And they declined.
No.
Of course they did.
Well, they're busy, I'm sure.
The other ones used to.
Oh, I know.
They invited the select board to attend one of their meetings,
What night do they meet on?
same night,
As
Thursday.
we do.
Yes.
Do they meet every Thursday?
I believe they do. But I can check that. After election,
Can we just stay on that subject for a
yeah,
minute?
yeah,
If
I'm
we
still
choose,
on it.
if the board chooses to meet, to forego our select board to meet with them on an evening, perhaps maybe that we don't have a busy night one night, would they put us on the agenda? That would be one of the questions when you do talk with them.
And I would think that they would have to because they've invited you. So I certainly will ask that question. In the meantime, what they did provide was a copy of the budget, which I will get that to all of you.
That'd be great.
It's in a PowerPoint, so you can take a look at how they came up with the budget they came up with. Last week we talked about what we wanted to do with Christmas. I have talked with Johanna and Cindy at your request to find out what they were planning. I guess in talking with everyone, the preference is to have a half day on Friday and have the Christmas party because most people will be taking Monday off. So
The
if you
entire
remember-
day.
Yes, you remember that, well, Cindy actually will be open on Monday.
She will.
She said she
So
would,
that means Kim will be here.
yes. But it's likely that a lot of folks will probably take Monday off since Tuesday's the holiday.
So is the state is not open the entire day on Monday, correct?
Yes,
think-
I guess it would depend on what, different departments vary. So,
Yeah. They are open the entire day, according to their holiday thing.
some departments will give people half day off. So that's kind of the consensus we've come to, that if we're going to do a Christmas party, it should probably be on Friday. Have a half day on Friday, have the Christmas party, and then Monday is a regular work day.
So all employees work a full day.
If they choose, unless they want to take vacation or, pay time off.
So,
But then we come into a situation where
There's one employee
there's
or none.
one employee that's going to be forced to work the entire day by herself,
Or himself. Oh,
or himself.
or get reassigned to a different location to...
Not going to happen, you know that.
We give out...
If we
have
close it, we
paid-
have to pay them.
We have paid holidays
Yes,
that
we
we
do.
have chosen throughout the year. And same with Friday, are we going to pay everybody but close at noon? But that's not a paid holiday that we have on our schedule. So
That's true.
we're adding in a day on Monday, we add half a day on Friday.
We're not adding in a day on Monday.
Who said we didn't do Monday?
We're not adding a day in the Monday. It's a work day on
But if
Monday.
we close,
No, we're not asking for
Cindy will be
closing.
open.
Cindy's open,
So
so
you
if nobody
can't
else
close.
shows up, there you
Right.
go, Cindy's here.
So the question is, John, do we have a half a day on Monday, leave it like we've always done it for the last 10 years, and have a half a day on Monday, and have the party like we always have, a half a day before Christmas, on Christmas Eve, half a day, have them come, half the people don't show up anyway for our Christmas party, half, it's usually highway and town hall, and then send them home. That's what we usually do. But what we thought was we would have that on Friday instead. That way, if people wanted to take a paid time off day on Monday, they could. But then that leaves one person that's going to be forced to be working. Couldn't take a paid time off if they could. Even if they could, they can't. Which means would be the only one in the building.
so everybody on that Monday is going to take off in the town except for one person.
Well, we're making
Oh, that-
an assumption.
We're making an assumption
Yeah.
on it.
I think we should
Sounds
get the
like
word
Jeannie
out.
says a lot of people are gonna take that time off.
I think we should be requesting that people submit their time off requests in a very timely manner so that we can make arrangements for that. So my other question.
I say we forego the Christmas party and just do a half a day on Christmas Eve and go, period. That's what I say. A lot of people don't come to the Christmas party anyway.
Anybody else? Peter?
I mean, that sounds like a plan.
Joe, what do you think?
What's the final plan? I think that we work
It's
all the
just
way
a
through
suggestion.
Monday at noon, have our party in the afternoon, and that's their half day. That's ideal for me. But that's just me.
And
Instead of taking
So
Friday.
the suggestion was not to have a Christmas party at all.
Yeah,
Friday would be a full work day, and Monday would be the half day.
Monday would be Christmas party day.
No,
well, I was suggesting not to. This past year, we've had several parties. The only one that was so well attended was, I believe, a barbecue in the summer. And I think that would probably be like a tradition, having an employee barbecue. I like that. Everybody showed up. That was well attended. Our Christmas party the last 3 years have not been well attended. And we've given most of our food away at our Christmas parties. Most of the people have just gone home for the half a day.
Aye. I vote for that.
So
There's no Christmas party.
just
So-
let them at noontime, just let our employees go.
Let me ask this.
Close.
Is Christmas Eve, that Monday, a scheduled half day?
No.
So it's,
We give them the half a day off with pay. That's what we do.
but it's not a scheduled holiday on. We
Yeah.
should put.
it is
putting
not
that-
in the employee manual.
We should be putting that on there. If that's what we're going to do every year, we should. be
Because the
scheduling.
half day, just like this suggestion, is never on the same day. So how do you put it in there?
Half day on Christmas Eve, or the day.
But what if Christmas Eve is Saturday or
Right,
Sunday?
because then you wouldn't have it.
Then,
That's why we don't put it in,
what I was saying,
because it's a floater day.
hold on, because it would be the half day before Christmas, half working day before Christmas, so.
And
it's
if
on
Christmas
Saturday
is
or
on a
Sunday.
Monday,
It'd be Friday afternoon.
It'll be Friday afternoon.
I think
That's why
you could find wording to that effect.
yeah, if you're gonna put it in the manual, I would just make sure it's a floating half day, someday previous to
If
Christmas.
you can't use the word floater because floater suggests you could take it
Or whatever
anytime.
the language is, but I would be
Right,
specific.
but we could find language, Catherine.
But regardless, it has been tradition to give them half a day. And it is, if we can, it's usually Christmas Eve if it falls during the week.
That way, we follow the tradition, and those that can, because of their limitations within their department, and if it's allowed within their department, take the other half with paid time off, they can do it.
So, it's a two-part question. Are we gonna have a Christmas party?
Actually, my question is why are we automatically giving a half day that we aren't scheduling for? So in our employee manual, it says you get this day, that day, and we have this other one, but we don't talk about it in the manual. We just give it to you.
For,
Taxpayers should know,
for 10 years.
I don't care, that doesn't make it any better, but for the taxpayers should know what the employee benefits are. If they include a half day for this, or half day there, or maybe you get your birthday off, or something like that, that should be listed.
Well, I would be all for that going forward for 2019. But for this year,
We've talked about, since I've been selectman, I think on camera, off camera, everywhere, our employees, our residents know that we do this for our employees. I'm pretty sure that our residents know that this is what we do.
well, John has a point.
I know, I get what he's saying,
But for
And
this
going
year,
forward, we should do that, but
I'm not willing to not do it all of a sudden because it's not in the manual. But I think going forward, John has a good point.
I
It
agree
should
with
be in
you.
there.
I agree with you.
No,
It also
I'm-
tells
I'm not-
employees what
I'm not
they
being a
expect.
Scrooge, I think employee should get it, you all get it.
We will
That's
not
the only
call
thing
you.
You've been on
You
the
think
voting
anything's
yes,
gonna
I
get
give
done?
it.
But
I know you're not a Scrooge, but I think you're right.
we should
Put
be
it out
mentioning
there.
it, and, you know, people should be expecting.
Employees.
So number one, are we gonna have a Christmas party? Consensus, everyone? Yes?
Well,
No?
if the
No.
people in this town hall attended, why would we not have it? Because, and the public works people come, why would we not have it because those that are east of us don't come?
I would think that we should have it, and department heads should tell people, look, you don't have to stick around, but at least go and stop in.
I'm just thinking about the food we waste.
Well, not, or let's not have so much food, I don't
Yeah,
know.
We don't need as much food or do potluck, but I think it's, we're giving people the day off, we're celebrating it. and-
I could go either way, it doesn't matter to me, I'm just thinking that you,
It
I
seems
would
like
like-
the employees in the past enjoy the camaraderie and the getting together.
they really enjoyed that employee appreciation barbecue more
On
than,
Riverfront? Yeah, they did.
they really did, so let's make that bigger and better and do that.
And forego the Christmas thing. Because we did always end up with a lot of food in my experience. I don't know about last year, but in years past. I don't know, that's a tough one to
Yeah.
just discontinue it.
Want to sleep on it till next week, if we have time.
Is it something we could take a poll of the employees and see how they feel about it? Any of them looking forward to it?
That's something that we can do, but I'm telling you, you're gonna have 15 different answers, and so, you know, when you poll somebody like that, so the question is, do we forego the Christmas party, and Monday, we're gonna have a half a day? Do you want the Christmas party, or you don't want the Christmas party? Is that what you wanna poll? Is that what you
I
wanna
would
poll?
poll, do you want the Christmas party or the summer barbecue?
Well, I was gonna suggest that we
Do
say,
one or the other.
look, we're thinking, as Board of Selectmen discussed, foregoing the Christmas party in favor of the summer barbecue, and this year, we would have a half day on the day before Christmas. What is it, Monday?
Monday.
Do you have any suggestions?
Well, I haven't talked to every single employee, but the ones that I have talked to, I think what you're suggesting would be appreciated, which is a half day on Monday. And certainly, if they want to celebrate, they can bring something in, you know? The employees can, as you say, bring in potluck. It doesn't have to be funded by the town.
Don't just do a potluck from 12 till 1.
But if they're ambivalent about a Christmas party at all, just let them go. Then they don't have to cook for here and
That's
cook for
pretty much what
Christmas.
they do anyway.
Well, yeah, so that's why I say if we poll them, they might say, yeah, no, it'd be really great, we just go home, get ready for our Christmas.
And do a bigger and better
You
barbecue.
can do a barbecue on the island.
They really enjoyed that. We got so much feedback from everyone on that Christmas, on that summer
Did I
appreciation.
help with that one?
Yes, you
You
did.
look a cooker.
Seems like we
Why
could
the
all
island?
run together.
Why the island, Catherine?
The previous year too, we had.
Because you can't have a barbecue grill in the park,
Yeah, you
remember?
can.
We had it up on the bricks.
We haven't changed that, because
Yeah, we have.
We had it up on the
we didn't
bricks.
put in we had to put a concrete pad in to do it, remember?
Okay, so the question, do you want to do that, same,
So you have no parking at the island. We'll go there.
I'm happy to send out a poll if you want, or
yeah,
That's what we had.
I think so. We want to send out a poll, just.
no?
it
All right.
comes-
So,
Catherine, yes, no? Just
Okay,
just
we're
don't
gonna
have
go.
it. Joe,
I'm a no.
just don't have it.
Don't have it. Give them a half a day, expand the
Right,
barbecue.
you're no. Now, Peter?
Yeah, I'm a no for the Christmas party and just really do it up for the employee appreciation.
Same.
Right, just so I
And
understand
give them a
that
half a day.
what we're going to do is Monday is going to be a half a day, no Christmas party, and a bigger and better barbecue.
For
Yeah,
employee
we'll
appreciation.
buy some ribs or something.
Great. All right, you signed off on
Get on a
the,
spit or something.
you signed off on the health trust changes last week. I am starting benefit education sessions November 7th at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's going to be at DPW, and then November 13th at 9 a.m. at the police station. Open enrollment will begin on November 14th through December 14th. There are really no changes to the plan. There's actually some added benefits, so should be fairly easy.
Except contractually, there's a little bit changes to them, right? So you really need
Yes.
to explain it to them.
Yes,
Okay.
and that's, we will have the folks from Health Trust here
There
to
with
do
you.
that, yes.
You're going to meet at the PD for them.
We're gonna have one at the DPW on the 7th at 7 o'clock and one at the police station on the 13th at 9 o'clock.
What about the ones that cannot make it at 9 a.m. at the police station because of their jumbled schedule?
Well, I did speak with Health Trust folks about that. They said the last time around they had 3 sessions and one in the afternoon, and they said the attendance was very low. So I think that I will be planning to go to both of those, and then I can make myself
Direct.
available to
Okay.
anyone else who wants to go through it, and that neither one of these times fit their schedule. Right.
Sounds good.
Primex, you heard from Tim that the workers' comp has gone up. The unemployment is the same, and property and liability has gone down.
You look at the number there,
Yeah.
yeah, it says 62,
Yep.
2 to 660,000.
I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
Okay.
It was a typo. It was,
66?
Sixty,
60?
124.
Yeah, 60.
so it went from 62,266 to 60,124. And the workers' comp went up because of, did I put that down there? Yes, because of
Senate
2.
bill and House bill?
Yep, a Senate bill and a House bill. And one had to do with firefighters, and the other one had to do with exposures, like airborne risks. So that was what caused the increase. Miscellaneous. Last Friday, I attended the municipal managers meeting, which was, I thought, pretty informative. Most reported that their health care rates had gone up just like ours. There's a big discussion on hiring. A lot of towns are really struggling to fill positions. We actually, the town administrator from Wakefield was there and thanked us for sending her our DPW guy. But it was an interesting conversation because there is such a limited workforce. And they talked about the things that they try to do to hold on to employees. So it was a good discussion to hear. I met with Glenn Smith over in Northfield last week, and I've got an upcoming meeting with him and Judy Milner to talk about how we might collaborate, whether it's economic development or other issues that the towns might work together on. And tomorrow I'm going with, yes?
This is Judy Milner.
Oh, I'm sorry, Judy Milner, I had mentioned that last week. She is the city manager for Franklin.
Ah,
So I met with her last week, I think it was when I delivered the photo. And-
We should kind of stay in touch with them. Seems like we've stayed in the same circle.
Yes, and they were both at this managers meeting, and we talked about we should try to get together and just see where it takes us. So, tomorrow I'm gonna spend a little time with Kevin going around looking at some of these projects, the academy situation, and other projects that I haven't actually been out to get to see, so we'll do a little bit of that tomorrow. And outstanding projects, the Academy Street RFP I'm working on, ordinances for fireworks and sidewalk art, just wanted to let you know that I haven't forgotten, it's just in the pipeline, and the True Green accident, which I'm still working on that. And one other thing I wanted to bring to your attention, but I would like to go into non-public. This has to do with a property purchase, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there anything else on the town administrator's report prior to going into non-public? Anybody would like information on? Okay. So, going to, and would this be under D, the acquisition, sale, or lease of property?
Yes.
So I'm going to make a motion that we go into non-public as per RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community.
Second.
And second by Selectman Jessman. And roll call vote.
Constantino, yes.
Bog, yes.
Scanlon, yes.
Chessman, yes.
And Dawson, yes. Right?
We are red. Red is on, as you know. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to the potential sale and/or lease of land, and as they pertain to personnel. No, as they pertain to land till at such time as the deal may be complete, and as they pertain to personnel permanently.
Second. Aye. What?
I'm going to vote aye.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
We talked about what we talked about.
Aye.
Oh,
I'm not opposed, I'm
Aye.
still thinking about the aye.
it doesn't,
Okay,
Maybe
it's just an
Unanimous.
FYI. Okay. Selectmen's reports?
selectmen's reports.
Yes. I have several questions.
Go ahead.
Okay, so let's start first with, Heather just gave me this to read. Do I have to read the ho ho ho?
Too late.
Ho ho ho. The Tilton Northfield Samverton Christmas Fund is now accepting applications for the 2018 Christmas season. We are an organization that has been in existence for many years and was established to assist families, the elderly, and those in need during the Christmas season. Towns served are Tilton, Northfield, and Samverton. Who is eligible? Any family, elderly person, or individual in need of support with Christmas toys, warm winter clothing for children, or a holiday food basket. Applications are at Town Hall or call Heather at 608-6627. Deadline is November 12th, not a day late, November 12th, 2018, at the close of Town Hall. Thank you, everyone. All right.
Can we remind people that this is not affiliated with town?
Yes, this is not affiliated with the Tilton Town Hall. There is a box downstairs with applications. You fill out the application, put it in the box, and then Heather will take care of it after that. Or if you have any questions, 608-6627. All right, now,
I think they're
on, now this is just a question, this is just a query, because I have no idea what's going on. Has anybody noticed on Winter Street that there are these big white painted arrows next to every drain?
Yeah,
They're all over town.
the state does that.
So they can find them during the winter.
When the ice is up and
The state
freezes.
does that.
If you have a rainstorm
All
coming, they
state
can make
roads
sure
will
they're
have
open.
that.
The town does it
I
on town
remember that
roads.
last year.
It's one right in front of my house.
Okay.
And I think the fire department.
I don't ever remember seeing that.
Sticks,
They
and
put
Maybe
sticks on the
better
fire
on
hydrants.
mistakes than other towns.
Water department does that.
they put sticks at the beginning of guardrails.
Okay, and speaking of water department, so we've been living with this gigantic hole in Cedar Street, which is now filled with ledge pack, and the pipes are now picked up next to the fire hydrant. However, I did look at the trench and digging ordinance that we do have, and it really needs some tweaking, because we really need to think about this on utilities. We have somebody, an emergency happen with a utility, regardless of what utility it was, a utility, on a very busy road. Cedar Street, I don't know, remember when the chief did the counting with the unit, what was it, over 20,000 from 1 to 5 p.m.? And they dug it up. It was put back poorly because it was in the middle of the night, I get that, but weeks and went by and it just tore up even more and more and more till it was really bad. And the answer we got back was they'll have it done by November 14th. Now, this is one of the holes that we were living with. Every time you came down Maple Court and made a right-hand turn, this is where your tire ended up, is one of these holes. And you can see that was the hole that you kicked. This is what the people on Cedar Street was living with. Now it's ledge pack and it's nice, but they're going to have to dig up that ledge pack again. My point is, whether it's gas company, sewer commission, water, or Eversource, we need to have something in place, because now the water company is waiting for all their projects in town done, and then on by November 14th, they're going to asphalt them all. Well,
just-
that's not what it's all about in the town of Tilton.
just
Not on a busy road like Cedar Street.
Remind them they're gonna need to saw cut, use emulsion, and then pave also.
Who's going to remind them? I can't just pick up the phone and say, hey, buddy,
I thought we had a
remind
public
them.
works director. That's
I
his
know.
road. He needs to be on top of it. He should have been on top of it when the potholes developed to the water company. You need
He
to-
has been on top of it and getting information with it, but this is absolutely ridiculous. You see how low these roads are.
I saw, I was like,
But
So-
we should have some
So
type
going
of,
forward, you're suggesting that we add to our trenching
yes,
ordinance that they have a certain amount of time to correct it.
that's correct.
Is it specific in the trenching ordinance how it's to be repaved, as Peter just described?
No.
Is that specific?
I
The materials to
not.
be used and the method that it should be squared out and
think we
saw
need to have
cut?
that, what Peter said, as well as a maintenance, how they must maintain it until that's done.
I would also suggest that they be liable for that repair over a period of time to make sure that it's correct.
Isn't that already in? I thought that was
I
already in the
don't
trench
know.
ordinance.
I
It
haven't
used to
looked
be,
at it.
I thought.
I saw the old one, which was kind of sad.
Well, that is the old one. That's the only one that Jean
Right.
could find.
Brock rewrote the old
Couple
one.
years ago, 2 years ago,
Brock rewrote the old one. It was one of the first things
But
he
we
did.
didn't approve it, though. The ordinance, you mean?
I thought he rewrote the ordinance, and I thought we
Did you
approve
print it out, Jeannie?
I printed it out for you.
Is it in here?
Because if you're dealing with the old one, it's not much in there.
Actually, I take it back. I sent it to you.
But regardless of what was written, we need to make sure, you're saying we need to make sure of all these other things should be added to it.
maintenance until final repair is made, and guarantee of repair.
Yeah, like, we could think about requiring them to post a bond.
So it is very, very vague on the old ordinance for the trenching and digging. The one that Jeannie sent me. I mean, it is wicked old, but
Do we want the Public Works Director to look at that and add that language to it and bring it to us?
so work with Jeannie
Or does
and get out a
somebody
new one,
I'll speak with Kevin.
revise it?
Yep.
Okay, that would be great, because we really need to do something regardless of what the utility is, because we do have emergencies that happen in town. You remember Deer Street with the gas company? And that ended up with a brand new pavement job that they cut through. I just think that we really need to do something about that. Okay, now, okay, so here it is, November, and we made a motion months and months ago, and I know that there was an accident involved in this, but we still don't have any repairs to underneath the kitchen floor at the senior center. And I'm getting really concerned because over the weekend, this past weekend, we did have a little bit of snow, and I'm getting concerned with our floor. I haven't heard anything at all in regards to, just said before the snow flies. That was the last I heard.
I would say best to issue a deadline or we're going together.
It's going to be hard to find that other. That's the problem.
I'll follow up and check on that.
Is that it?
I can't remember whether or not we asked Tim to do an analysis on the, during the budget on where Primex with the health insurance, whether or not the buyout, we should increase the buyout or keep it the same based on the changes in the health insurance or not. I remember last week or the week before when he came up.
I did have a discussion with him about that. It was one of the discussions at the managers meeting, and in particular, the city manager from Laconia noted that he had lost somebody that they were looking to hire to the town of Dover because Dover's buyout was $15,000. And I was talking with Glenn Smith about it, and I think Glenn said Northfield's is $10,000. So I came back and talked to Tim and said, well, you know, because the way they talked about it at the managers meeting is that even if it's $1 less than what the value of that plan is, say that the plan is worth, I don't know, $6,000, and you offer them a buyout of $5,999, you're still saving money because you're avoiding the claims and everything else that goes along with it. And during this managers meeting, they talked about they had actually done analysis to see that it motivated people to go on to their spouse's plan if the buyout was higher, and that's what they were experiencing. Now, what we'd have to look at what does our population look like? Because if the majority of our population is a single plan, then they're not motivated because that's all they have.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look at the two-person or the family plan and see if that would be a motivator. So it was an interesting conversation, and I came back and talked with Tim about possibly doing an analysis on that.
Can you check into that
Yep.
for us? That'd be great. Okay. So that's it, other than talking about the schedule for Tuesday, like, you know, Chuck had asked us to have a conversation about. Other than that, I'm done.
Anything special going?
I got a list on DPW. I noticed catch basin cleaning was 4 days this year. I believe a year or two ago we were at 2 days, so I'm trying to figure out why the big jump in time. Item 2, we purchased some new street signs. Do those have the new taller letters that we were told 2 or 3 years ago were being mandated at some point?
They have to be retro-reflective.
Well, that also, they were going, I think, from 4 to 6 inch.
6 inches, right?
Retro-reflective was the big issue,
And they have to be 6 inches.
and the letters are bigger.
I don't know, but I'll find out.
When you're ready, I'll add to the list.
I'm ready.
Under future work, winterized ball field water supply. Catherine, if we're going to be filling the rink, are we going to winterize it?
Well, I think what he's talking about is how they fix the inside portion. They were going to improve.
Okay, I can't tell from.
No, I couldn't either, but that's the only thing I could think of, it's the only thing.
Okay.
So you want to know if
What the winterization's going to
Be a little
be?
more specific what they did over there.
So you want to be able to use it all winter to fill the rink? So
Correct.
the winterization will allow for
For use.
use.
So I just want to be clear, what I heard was you want Kevin to be more specific about what they actually did to winterize?
What they're going to do, because it's future.
Okay. Gotcha.
Truck backup cameras. We had a truck accident, was it 1 winter or 2 winters ago now?
Two for tour, Joe.
I've been asking for backup cameras on the back of the Sanders so we don't back into cars anymore, and I don't think we're any closer yet, although Kevin was researching, so just where we are with that. Then last but not least, what does he have for plans for paving, whether it's streets or sidewalks for next year? Because we want to be, if we wait till spring to do it, then,
Need to send out bids now.
yeah.
And we don't want to go with, we want his list.
That it?
That's it.
That's all. Nothing special for me?
My only questions are, well, my question is, the NRA luncheon had to be responded to by today, and that's done, correct? November 1st, it says. That would be the day.
So I would say yes, but I will confirm that because
Okay.
this was something that Gail did. And if it's in your packet, I'm sure she did.
Well, it was in my packet for the last couple of weeks, and we talked about it last week, and I want to make sure that Kevin is on board with this, so then we can ride down together. And,
I will follow up with Kevin and I will follow up with Dana.
okay, you can keep that as a
Okay,
reminder.
thank
I'm
you.
good with that. And river's down 20 feet.
What?
Huh?
The river's down 20 feet, at least at Riverfront Park, where we're going to do the cleanup.
Yeah, but I think your lake level is still at normal on the lake.
Probably, but we weren't cleaning up the lake, we were cleaning up the river. But it wasn't enough time to put it together in the, 2 days, 3 days.
Next year, they do the dropping of Silver Lake, which drops the river too,
Yeah.
so.
In any
How do they
case,
drop the river without dropping Silver Lake, because the dam's on
I've seen Silver Lake,
Right.
The dam in Franklin, they're just opening that up, I think, faster. Drawing more through Franklin, so it's
the, but wouldn't
dropped.
that also pull Silver Lake down? Because there's no dam between.
there's room for this river to go down even more in Riverfront Park. I will say that, I've seen it
Yes, but I
low.
was and I'm just curious, since I really don't know, how could they pull down the river without pulling down
I've seen it
Silver
down
Lake?
significantly
There's no
further
dam
than
in
it is
between.
now.
I think the
It
dam,
would suck the water out of the river too, wouldn't it?
you got the dam at the park and the one in Franklin, if they open those, and
That's
I
like,
mean, Laconia
right off the
still.
fish dive when the lightning hits the lake.
They're not grounded. They're not grounded.
It's one of those questions.
In any case, that's the only observations and or questions that I have.
And good person to call for that, can call Dan at the Dam Bureau.
Dan at the Dam Bureau.
Dan is the dam man at the Dam Bureau.
I used to call the damn guy from,
He's
between,
really helpful.
August and, Opiji. The guy in Newport.
Starting this one.
I used to call him.
No, that's in Concord with DES.
Yeah,
Dam.
yeah.
Dam Bureau.
I've actually talked to Dan before. The
Help
Dan
save
Lockley.
some water to keep it flowing in the spring.
Yep. That's it for me.
Catherine, look at that.
Um,
Some numbers. Bullets.
I have little stars beside him. I'm not sure if our current Public Works Director is aware of an issue we have there almost every year at Andrews Road.
Yep, I've already, about the sand.
About how we plow in the
Yep,
sand.
I've already talked to him about it, and that's one of the things we're gonna look at tomorrow.
Okay, good. And then the rest is just kind of FYI. So we had an issue earlier in the week with a rabid cat. A resident called in, and a suspected rabid cat.
Yep, I heard about that.
And so Fish and Game no longer responds unless you have positive, actually, they really don't respond. So the message I had seemed to be a little confusing, but I straightened it out with the chief. Our officer did respond. They couldn't find the cat. So the reason I bring this up is to make sure everybody is aware that when we contract with Birch Hill, it's simply for them to be a pound. They don't come out and enforce, dogs roaming or nuisances or rabid cats or any of that. That would be a much greater charge than what they charge us. Northfield does contract with them for those services. And then I think it's over $8,000 a year they pay for it. We pay, what, $5,500 for the pound. So the police department has always been you have a dog in your yard and or the neighbor's dog is barking, or you have a dog that's, neighbor's dog you feel is vicious, or the rabid, or the whatever, you call the police department. And I think everyone in town hall needs to know that process. The health officer responds in conjunction with the police department. So I take care of, feral cats, or there's a dead woodchuck, or, those kind of things. I respond. But even though I shoot guns, I'm not trained like a policeman. So if I respond to a resident in the village area, I wouldn't feel comfortable by shooting a firearm if I had to just shoot a rabid cat with all those people in houses around. I just wouldn't. So that's why I don't respond to those. The police do. So I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of the protocol.
Wasn't the issue that they were told by the police department to call Fish and Game told them to call the police department, and they went back and forth for a little bit on whose responsibility?
And that's why I talked to the chief. There was that, but when they found out that Fish and Game wasn't going to respond, then they responded.
Fish and Game is wild animals, right?
Fish and Game used to respond to rabies. So if you have, let's say you go out and you find a dog and you don't know, and it's in your yard and it has, it's foaming, and you look at it and you think it has rabies. Fish and Game used to respond because it was rabies. Short-staffed, like most of our state agencies, they don't. They will respond occasionally if it's a wild animal, but something has to have been bitten.
Yeah.
Your dog, you, horse, somebody has to have been bitten.
So calling
In
in danger
danger
there
of.
in your yard is of no consequence.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they're great. They'll advise you on what to do if you have a bear in your yard.
Stay inside.
If you call up and you have a rabid raccoon in your barn, they'll advise you on how to handle it and what not to do.
Right.
But I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that.
Could we, on that same note, excuse me, Catherine,
No,
could
go
we
ahead.
find out who the animal control officer is now for?
We don't have an animal control.
A specific one,
We used
right.
to.
We used to. It was,
Right.
Like,
Billy Patton?
No.
It was Billy Patton was the latest one.
And Mike
Yeah.
Farrington did it.
Mike Farrington did it for a while, but now it's whoever's on call. They all respond. So there isn't, we don't have a specific one. The chief ended that some years ago.
Is there specific training in dealing with potential animal control issues given to the individual officers at the, oh no, that's a chief question.
Well, I quizzed him on that, and he knew about the, the bag and how the handle and the glove and the, yeah.
Sounds like another
Double
thing for the
bag.
chief's agenda.
Yeah. I
He
got
double
chief.
bagged. So he did. That's all I needed to let everybody know about. I'm good.
Mr. Chairman.
I can replace your budgets if you like.
Okay, nothing else for the meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Me.
Aye.
Thank you, Tim.
I did.
John?
John did.
Okay.
I didn't sign anything. So moved.
And we're free.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about the schedule though, for Tuesday.
It was a great meeting, thank you very
Yeah.
much.